Okay, Year 7, today's task is to start to paint a colour wheel. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen a colour wheel before. You can see here, this one looks quite complicated. This is the one that we're going to be painting. And on the outside, we have things called hues. So hues are pure colour, all right? So these are the pure colour, so no black, no white. So you put hues in the outside ring. In this centre ring here, you put tints. So this is the hue, which is the pure colour, plus some white. So we have tints in this centre ring. And then here on the very inside, in this ring here, we have things called shades. Now shades are the hue plus black. So we have hue, tint, and shades. So we're going to start with the hues today. And we're going to start with a yellow. And then we're going to move on to oranges and reds, and then we'll do the other side, the cooler side. So we'll start with the warm colours of yellows, reds and oranges, and we're going to be using watercolours, all right? So let's have a look at what we're going to need. We're going to need a colour wheel to look at. So this will give us an idea of the kind of colours that we're trying to create. So you can see here, this is a primary colour, which is a red. And then another primary colour here, which is a yellow, and another primary here together, which is a blue. So you can't mix any colours together to create the primary colours. You have to dig them up out of the ground. So they're primary colours. And then we have secondary colours, which are in between the primary colours. So if you look here, I've got blue and yellow. In between blue and yellow, we have green. So when you mix yellow and blue together, you create green, and green's the secondary colour. And if you mix the other two primaries together, if you mix red and yellow together, then you get orange, which is also a secondary colour. So when you mix two primaries, you get a secondary. And the third secondary colour is purple, and you mix blue and red together to create purple. So our primary colours are red, yellow and blue. Our secondary colours, which you create by mixing together your primary colours, are green, orange and purple. So on a colour wheel, we have primary colours, we have secondary colours, we also have things called tertiaries, and you create tertiaries by mixing together a primary and a secondary. So on either side of the tertiary colour, you have the colours that you have to mix together to create it. So this tertiary here is red-orange. So to create that one, you mix together red and orange. This tertiary is yellow-orange. So to create that, you mix together yellow and orange. And this tertiary is called yellow-green, and to create yellow-green, you mix together yellow and green, and so on. Okay, and it should sort of blend into each other. You can see this sort of look attractive next to each other, don't they? So primary colours, red, yellow, blue. Secondary colours, purple, orange and green. Tertiary colours, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple and red, purple. Okay, right, the painting. We're going to use watercolours because they're quite easy to use and it's good practice for you. So the first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that your watercolours are ready to use, because they might be a bit mucky from a previous class. So we need to make sure that they're nice and clean, and we can do that by using a little bit of water and a little bit of tissue. So mine look nice and clean, don't they? So I don't think I need to do anything to those, but my palette looks a bit mucky. So I'm going to get a little bit of tissue, dip it in my water and just clean off my palette, because I'm going to need my palette to mix together my colours. There we go. So my water pot looks a little bit mucky as well, but it'll be okay. Hopefully, before you fill yours, if you just do the same thing, just sort of clean it with a little bit of tissue. Okay, so what do I need to do first? I'm going to do my yellow first, because yellow's the lightest colour. Let's see if we're going to be able to see we'll see some of that, I think. Let's have a look. Let's just play around a little bit. Just move that down. There we go. So we can see everything, I think. Okay, so the painting technique. Now these colours aren't very good quality, they're quite cheap, so it's quite difficult to get the colours out. So you need to dip your paintbrush into your water and then put your water on top of the colour that you want. Let's move it in just to make sure that we can see it. And you need to spend a little bit of time stroking the surface and mixing up a good, strong, powerful colour. Otherwise you'll find that your colours look really wishy-washy. You have to try carefully not to touch the colour that's next door as well. Otherwise your colours aren't going to be nice and clean. So I think I've got plenty there. So I've got a little bit of water and gave it a really good stir. And then I find where it says primary yellow. And then I'm going to paint on my primary yellow. You see how I'm doing it? I'm just doing it side by side in stripes. To worry about it being super perfect. I just want a strong colour. Too worried that I've gone out the edge there. So that's the first section. You then need to clean your brush, and then we're going to do orange. And I'm going to let you just use the orange for this. I'm not going to make you mix together yellow and red. You can just use the orange because we're going to practice using these paints as well as mixing colours. And you're going to have to mix your tertiary colours anyway. So spending a bit of time, giving it a really good stir, really good stir. And I've got to make sure that I put this where it says secondary orange and not where it says tertiary. So I'm leaving a gap. A little bit more water, I think, because there's not very much paint there. So a bit more water, a bit more stirring, and then side by side, nice strong colour. A little bit more. Lovely. If I want to make it tidy, I can just do that. A bit more water, a bit more paint. Oh, I've gone over the edge, doesn't matter. So now I need to do the red. And see, I've got some blue on my red there, which is going to make it look like purple. So I'm going to clean off my red first. So when you're cleaning, you have to have a little bit of water, otherwise it won't work. I'm going to need some new tissue soon. So now, same technique. Good stir, try not to touch the one next door. And then that one's going to go up here. It's not brilliant red, but it's okay, it'll do. If your colours are a bit pale and wishy-washy, you can wait for them to dry and then put a second coat on afterwards. All right, so that's the easy-ish bit. So now we've got to try and mix together the tertiaries. So we've got to mix together red and orange to create that red-orange. So that's here. And then we've got to mix together orange and yellow to make yellow-orange. So that's that kind of colour there. So I'm going to need to use our palette for this. So let's start by putting a little bit of red in the palette. To give it a really good stir again. A little bit of red in the palette. It'll change colour because these palettes look a little bit bluish, don't they? And then clean your brush and then get some orange. Lots of orange, otherwise it's going to be overpowered by that red. Lots and lots of orange. There we go. It's okay, it's not great, but it's slightly different. Maybe put a little bit more orange in. You can always test your colours here on the edge. Oh, there you go. So it needs more red. Look, I need more red because it's too similar to the orange. I want a colour between red and orange. Ooh, so difficult, isn't it? So if I've done that and I've figured out that it's not really very different, I can mix in a little bit more orange. Or it might just be because my red needs another coat, because the red's a bit orangey, isn't it, that red? Well, that's okay. It is different to the orange, and I think I'll put another coat on top of my red. And hopefully that'll make the red a bit reddier. There we go, that's better. There we go, now it looks different. And now I need to mix together my yellow orange. So I need to get orange. Really good stir. I put some in there. And then some yellow. So we're trying to create like a yellowy orange. It's going to take a lot of yellow, I think. And again, I can test it. Still quite orangey, isn't it? Might be because I've got quite orange water as well. That's better. I can see now I'm getting the right kind of colour on top of my yellow. And test it again, that's better. There we go, look at that, that's lovely. And again, if I don't think I've got a strong enough difference, I can always put a second coat on the primary like I did with the red, so I can put a second coat on top of that orange. Lovely. So what I'm now going to do, I think, is I'm going to clean out my water, because otherwise my blues and greens and my reds and purples are going to look a little bit dirty. So I'm going to go and get rid of my water and clean out my water pots. Go, and now I'm ready to do my greens and blues. So I'm going to choose either of the greens, it doesn't matter, it's up to me. Being really careful not to hit that orange. Otherwise I'll make a brown. So this needs to go where it says secondary green. I'll just put another coat on that later once it's dried if I want to. And then I'll do the primary blue. So I'm going to use the dark blue and the dark green. So I look at where it says primary cyan blue. And then that's where I'm going to put my blue. Oh, it's a lovely strong blue. And then I'm going to put, oh, I'm going to need to clean that yellow out, aren't I? Because it's got orange on top. Because I need to create my yellow green. The blue tissue is better than the green towel for this. Go. We can use normal tissue. So to be a good painter, you need to be quite methodical and quite careful about what you're doing. You don't want to do things slapdash. You take your time, and then you should get good results. So I'm going to put some yellow into my palette. And then I need to add some of this green. Not very much. I'm going to do a little bit at a time. That looks nice. Just test it. Perfect. So that's my tertiary yellow-green. And then I need to mix green with blue, not too much blue. Test it. Maybe a little bit more blue. And put another coat on top of that so it looks a bit bluer. Lovely, that looks lovely. And now onto my final ones, which are my purples. I don't think I need to clean my palette, I think it'd be okay. So I've already got my blue and I've already got my red, so I need to make a purple. Now, purples sometimes don't work very well with these palettes. So I think it's probably going to come out looking a little bit burgundy because of our tones of red and blue. It's not going to be one of those lovely purples that you've got on this colour wheel, I'm afraid. So I'm going to have red. Because the purple in the palette actually doesn't look very purple, so we have to make our own. So red and blue. It's not very nice. It might have picked up a little bit of the green. It's purple. It's not a great purple. Maybe a little bit more red. Let's see what we can do. So your purple is influenced by the colour of blue and red that you mix together. So if you've got like a pinky red and a cyan blue, then you'll create a different purple to a tomatoey red and a cobalt blue. It's a little bit brown, but it's okay, it'll do. And then we need to mix some of that purple with the blue. To make blue for purple. And then we need to make a reddy purple. So if you want to, you can experiment with these purples by using a different blue. So I used the dark blue, didn't I? So if you use the pale or cyan blue, you're going to create a different purple. But you need to make sure that you use the blue that you put in the primary. So if you put the lighter blue in primary, you can try mixing that with the red and see what kind of purple that creates. It might be a nicer one. Okay, so those are the hues. And if you finish off all the hues, you can do exactly the same, but mix it together with some white to create some tints. So this is the challenge of the task. And then exactly the same where you mix each hue with some black to create shades. So here is red plus white. Here is red plus black. Here is red orange plus white. Here is red orange plus black. Orange plus white, orange plus black. Yellow orange plus white, yellow orange plus black. Yellow plus white, yellow plus black. Okay, so there's some challenge there. For those of you that are a little bit quicker, can move on to the hues. Sorry, not the hues, you've already done the hues, to the tints and the shades.